Okay, welcome to another Easy as Accounting Software video presentation of the accounts receivable. Now, Mr. Smith's on account. If you want to use accounts receivable for this purpose, you can. Alternatively, you can just store the information in an invoice and keep adding it up as you go along on the invoice, I guess. But if you want to use this, it's here. You can record the entries. So here we've got 2 months worth of entries. I did this for a reason. I wanted to show you what you can do. It's the same as the accounts receivable, accounts payable, in that you can go down the line here and go, okay, you'd only click approve if he's paid you the money. Okay, until he's paid you the money, you're not going to click approved, right? Because you haven't been paid. So at any rate, at the end of the month, you need to issue this client an invoice. If you haven't created the invoice manually, you can enter the payments in the accounts receivable and have it automatically create the invoice. The way to do that is this. Here we've got 2 months worth here, right? Let's say I'm going to create an invoice for the month of April. He might have 60 days to pay or something, and you might see an invoice in 30 days after the month. Click this little line here. If I click this line, I can say I only want these 3 items to be included on this invoice. If I click this invoice here, if I didn't tick this line and I click invoice, it will give an invoice for whatever's on the screen. Every transaction on the screen, regardless of whether I've issued an invoice previously or not. So here I'm going to select these 3. And I'm going to say I want to include them on the invoice. I click create. It says create an invoice for this account. Yes. It asks me, sales tax included. Yes. Invoice created. Some editing may be required. Okay. You'll notice that it's put it on invoice 460. So now I'm going to jump out of here. I'm going to go off and have a look at invoice, and invoice 460 is here. Okay, it's out of date order because I let it do that. Okay, it's out of date order because it's going to do that because it doesn't know what date you're paying. But if you look over here, okay, it's a 0 balance. So maybe these ones, it was me mucking around before. 460. If I edit that, you will see that it's included the dates that I mowed the lawn. And what I did is put all the totals over here. There is a quicker way though, guys. If I'm in the accounts receivable, I want to look at that invoice number now. Just double click on one of those. If I double click on that, it's going to bring that to the screen. Only that invoice, and I can edit it. Makes more sense, doesn't it? There's all my items on the invoice. I can change the date to today's date and print the invoice. I'm going to come back here to this screen. Let's say it's a new month. I jump into this screen and I want to issue him an invoice. If I was to click this here now, this is what's going to happen. If I click this, it's going to come up and say some entries already appear on another invoice. Are you sure you want to continue? I'm going to say no. Because what it's saying is it's going to include this line, this line, this line, and all these lines on the next invoice because it's showing me whatever's on the screen. But what I'm going to tell it to do is I only want to see items on the screen from the 1st of May onwards. So, and there we are. And there they are on the entries. Now I can just click that. I don't have to select these 2. I can just click that there and it would have shown it for me. Okay, so I'll click this date, I click this, and now you don't get that funny box coming up. Now it'll create an invoice for this. Okay, so there's another way of doing it. You can choose the entries you want. You can choose to view this here, or alternatively, the most simplest approach I find is I just click this and just select them anyway. And whenever you do that and you click create, it can't go wrong. It's only selecting what you want to include anyway. Now, what happens if he didn't pay an amount last month? He disputed it and didn't pay it, and suddenly he says, okay, yep, you did do it. I'll pay it for you next month. Re-invoice me. And say it's this amount here. I can just click that again now, and it will include that on this next invoice. And this will change to the next invoice number because it will always be the most recent invoice that it's been included on will come up. So I'm going to click create. It's going to tell me that some amounts do appear on another invoice, which is this one. I'm going to say yes, do it anyway. And we'll see now that it's changed to invoice 461. Did you see that? Now if I double click on this, invoice 461, and away we go. These amounts are here. I don't think there's anything else I need to discuss on this screen. It's pretty much the same as accounts payable. However, now that he's paid this, let's say he's paid this. Let's say I'm going to bring all these transactions back to the screen, or let's say he's paid this month here. These 2 entries that were on invoice 460. He's paid us that money. I click it to say he's paid it. Jump over here. And I'm going to record that to my income. And now we can say, do you want to send it direct to income? But we can bypass that for a second, say record payment against an invoice. Yes, we do want to record the payment against the invoice. Then our invoice screen's up to date as well, so we can either send it direct to the income or record against an invoice. It's a lot of double handling, but that's what accounting is. Okay, but if it's applicable to you, you're going to want to do it. So we can click this here. I can come up and say, okay, it's invoice 461, right? I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click payment received, send it to income from here. Yes, send the amount I want, because remember he hasn't paid the whole invoice, the whole of the original invoice. He never paid the whole of the original invoice. He only paid part of it. Okay, so though it's a partial payment, we can close that invoice off later on. So I click OK. Partial payment done. Right, and we've got the partial payment coming up. So now what we could do, because we know that he's not going to pay any more out on that, we're just going to close this invoice off as being paid in full. We're just going to mark it as being paid in full. So as that, it comes up with this now, so that when we hit partial invoices, there is no partial invoices coming up. Remember from the invoice section, that's where that comes in handy to remark an invoice. Okay. So in this case now he's paid that. If we jump out of this screen here, we can easily see when we go into the income that it appears. 461. There we are. There's that amount. Okay. So there we go. Now let's jump back and have another quick squeeze at this. If we jump into accounts receivable again, jump into this guy. He's paid. He's going to pay for these amounts here. Okay. It's another new day. He's paid this another new month. He's now paying for this particular one. We can click this here, approve this, same as before. Jump over here, pay this whole invoice. Invoice 462, I think it is, whatever it is. Okay, so this, whatever the amount is, let's say he's paying whatever the amount, whatever's outstanding. I think it must be another $80 or some friggin' thing. Whatever it is, who cares? Pay that. We jump over here. We find the invoice. Okay, let's say we put the right amount down for these intensive purposes. I can't even find the number. Where is it? I had it back to front earlier before. Did I? 460, 461? I did. I paid the wrong one earlier. It was 460, 461. Doesn't matter. This is just an example. I'm coming over here. I'm going to pay the whole lot this time, right? Pay to income. Yes, I'm paying the whole lot, so I don't worry about this. If I pay this, now it's paid the whole lot. I'm not going to print out a receipt. I don't want it. And again, we don't have to worry about the partial invoices because it's paid everything. So there you go. That's all you really have to worry about for the accounts receivable. Yeah, 460, 461. I had it back to the front. Okay, you do have the audit method similar to the accounts payable, but I'll let you go into accounts payable to look at the audit method. And that's basically it. I really just wanted to show you this invoice bit here. This is a great little technique. Okay, thanks a lot.